Hi, welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. This video is part of the Paint My Plant series, and in today's video we will be drawing and painting a blackberry that is from one of my blackberry vines. I'll be drawing with several different graphite pencils, as well as painting with watercolors and even using some yellow ink for the background. Lughnasadh, or Lammas, is the first of 3 harvest festivals, and berries are ripe and ready for picking, so I thought this would be a fun way to celebrate. I have lots of tips and tricks to show you in this video, as well as I'd love to tell you a little bit about the festival. So I hope you'll join me, and let's get going. So this is a photo of my actual blackberry vine and the blackberry that I'm going to be drawing. I just blew it up so we could see it a little bit better. I'm going to be drawing in my Strathmore mixed media journal. It's 11 by 14. I decided to go super big. I will be fast forwarding a little bit throughout the video just for time management. It would have been like 3 hours long, so especially since we're doing the drawing and the painting. So let's talk about graphite. There are a few different types. There's hard, fine point, hard black, and black. So if you're just lightly sketching, using a hard or a fine point is kind of the best, but you have to go kind of light. And then the farther you go into the B's just means that it's going to get darker and it's a softer lead. So I'm going to be using I already used the fine, and so moving forward I'll be using the B, the 2B, 4B, 6B, and 8B, so we can create some really nice contrast and get some really nice darks in there, so it'll look more realistic. The more contrast you have, the more realistic your drawing will be. What I just showed you was a blending stump, and the dirtier the better with those. And if you don't have a blending stump, you can just use kind of like a soft brush. And then I was showing you that I like to use an X-Acto knife or a box cutter to sharpen my pencils. And then they have these like little sandpaper books, if you will, where you can really get your pencil sharpened to a point. I'll be using a knead eraser as well as a mono eraser. I just forgot to show you the mono eraser, so I'll be showing that to you a little bit later in the video. So I think I said already that when I first kind of sketched in my placeholders, I used the fine point. Now I'm going to be switching to my B pencil. When we first start drawing this blackberry, you just kind of put a circle in. The one that we're drawing is a circle, so I put a big circle in first, and then I just began putting in smaller circles. I tried to stick pretty close to the picture. There's a few little changes that I make, but for the most part I stick pretty close to it. I'm just going to continue building up those circles just kind of lightly still. You don't want to go too dark to start with because you want to have the ability to erase if you need to. I am really looking at the picture and kind of mapping in which circle is behind and which circle is in front of. So I'm just going to keep kind of going through and figuring that out right now. Now I'm just drawing in some leaves and a stem, even though those aren't actually in the picture. I just thought it would complete the drawing. I'm going in with a 2B now to really solidify the seeds of the blackberry, to really kind of decide which is going to be in front of and which is going to be in back of, so that way as we begin putting the shading in, I'll know which would be behind, so I can give it a little bit more of a shadow. One thing to remember is that they're not perfect circles. There's some ovals, there's some kind of squishy ones, so don't think that they have to be perfect circles. I mean, if you do, I think that's fine, but I'm really kind of trying to stick to the shape that I see in the actual photo. So I'd love to tell you a little bit about Lughnasadh, or Lughnasadh, also known as Lammas. It's the first harvest festival on the wheel of the year, and it originated in Ireland. It symbolizes kind of the first garden harvest, and blackberries are in season right now. So I thought this would be an excellent way to celebrate this festival. And I love blackberries. My harvest has been amazing this year. The first time, actually, I planted it a couple of years ago, and this year I've had an abundance of blackberries. So I've been super excited about that. Now I'm just kind of loosely sketching in the shadow that's underneath the blackberry. The left side will be a little bit larger simply because the light is coming more from the right-hand side, so the shadow will look a little larger kind of on the left-hand side. So now I'm kind of penciling in where the highlights are on the berries from the photo, just to kind of map those in so I can kind of leave them, I don't shade those in. Plus, it kind of helps me kind of know where I'm at as I'm looking at the actual photo. So I think it's super helpful to kind of map in the big ones anyway. I'm not putting in the teeny tiny little kind of speck ones. I will put those in later with a white Posca pen. So now I've grabbed my 2B pencil and I'm going to begin shading the entire seed. The only part I'm going to leave white is the highlight that we already drew in. When you're shading, you want to use the side of your pencil, not the tip, and you kind of just go in like little circular motions. You can begin building a little bit of darkness kind of near where they're going to overlap a little bit, but I'm just going to kind of go through and just shade them all in. This will be the first pass, and again, I'm just kind of using my 2B pencil. So you'll see here in a second how I've really begun kind of darkening in the areas between the seeds, really just to start building that contrast. Again, this is the first pass, so I'm just putting it in a little bit, and in hindsight, actually, because I am going to be using watercolor, I wouldn't have used such heavy graphite in those areas because it ended up being a little bit harder to put the watercolor over it, that it kind of just wanted to slide off of it basically. So keep that in mind as you are creating yours. I wouldn't shade it in quite as heavily as I did this time. The reason I'm kind of shading in the entire berry except for that little highlight that we put in is because the only part of the berry that's actually white is that little highlight. There are lots of places that are a little bit lighter, but they're not just bright white. So you want to kind of, with this first pass, you want to shade in the entire berry first. So I'd love to share with you some fun ways to celebrate Lughnasadh, or like I said, Lammas. A great way to celebrate is by cooking, baking bread because wheat is being harvested, picking, like I had said before, fruits and vegetables, just anything that's really kind of in your garden that's kind of coming into fruition. We've been picking jalapenos and green beans, tomatoes. So we have a lot of stuff in season right now. So it's kind of exciting, actually. I can't wait to make some spaghetti sauce and some homemade salsa because there's nothing better than homemade salsa or a homegrown tomato. I love them so much. And then also other ways is just by lighting candles, spending time in nature, hanging out with friends, and really reflecting on the first part of the year and just kind of, you know, checking in with yourself and maybe setting some more goals for the rest of the year. It's a festival that I really enjoy, so I love cooking and baking for my family and just, you know, being able to spend time outside. I'm not a huge summer person necessarily, but I do love being outside, which is great because having a cookout or going for a picnic is also another really great idea. It's celebrated July 31st to August 1st, somewhere along there most of the time, and it marks the halfway point between the summer solstice and the fall equinox. So I hope that you'll be able to implement some of these fun activities into your day, and maybe you can start celebrating Lughnasadh too. So now I'm using the blending stump that we talked about, and I'm using the side of it, not the point. The only time I really use the point is when I'm in the really dark areas, because the point of it is fairly dirty, so it can kind of deepen those in. So you want to avoid the highlights. That's kind of why we put those in. I'm just using kind of a circular motion, and I try to kind of go with the flow of the actual seed that I'm coloring in. I don't go like back and forth. I kind of try to just go in nice circular motions, just following the natural flow of each of the seeds. Because mixed media paper has a little bit of a tooth to it, this isn't going to be 100% smooth. So when you see it and it looks a little rough, that's why. If I was going to draw this and keep it just in graphite, I probably would have used maybe a smoother paper, but because I wanted to add watercolor, I needed something for it to kind of grab onto. So that's why I chose to work in this sketchbook. Another tip I have for you is when you're using graphite or anything that could smear, take a piece of paper so that your hand can rest on that. That way you're not smearing your hand across your drawing.
Wish that I could just turn it off, like a switch in my brain, so I can finally breathe. Thoughts spin around like shadows they cast. I'm an overthinker, lost in my mind. I'm always searching for answers.
I'm going to begin building up some contrast and putting in some heavier shadows. So I'm going to use the picture kind of as my guide as to where I want to put the really dark darks. I'm going to be switching to my 6B pencil. That's a really soft lead, so you can get some really nice shadows. And I'm also going to be using my blending stump after I kind of do a couple of them, but I start in the lighter area and then work my way to the darker area. That way it keeps the integrity of the light areas. We really just want to keep referring to that reference photo so we can carve out the really dark areas, and we'll keep building those up with a few layers. That way we really kind of get that contrast in, which is what really makes it pop off the page and kind of seems like it's more 3D.
Every choice I make, caught in a cycle, can't catch a break. In the quiet of the night, my head's going so loud. It sounds just like a party. Thoughts spin around like shadows they cast. I'm an overthinker.
If as you're working, your blending stump gets too dirty, so you can't like keep the integrity of the lighter areas, you can take a sheet of paper like I'm going to show you and just scrub on it a little bit, and it'll take some of that graphite off, and then you can just keep working.
Every choice I make, caught in a cycle, can't catch a break. Wish that I could just turn it off, like a switch in my brain, so I can finally breathe. Thoughts spin around like shadows they cast. I'm an overthinker, lost in my mind. I'm always searching for.
One of the great things about a knead eraser is you can kind of pull it so that it's just a tiny little point. So if you just need to erase one little part, then it's super easy to do that. Plus it doesn't leave like little eraser shavings. So it's a great tool to have. So if you don't have one, I definitely suggest grabbing one of those.
Ooh, maybe one day and I'll pay attention to myself. I'd rather pay attention to you. I'm an overthinker, lost in my mind. I'm always searching for answers I'll never find. That's a every moment. Every choice I make, caught in a cycle, can't catch a break. has gone.
I'm switching to my 8B now to really start building that contrast. I will do more than one layer with the 8B, but you'll really start to see it kind of start popping off the page here after we go in with this darker color. You'll also see me going in and kind of using the blending stump around the highlight that we put in, and that's just because I was trying to blend it a little bit better there. Then I'm going to go in with the knead eraser, and actually I also bring in my mono eraser here too, just to kind of put that highlight back in. I'm taking a really soft brush now to get any of the little eraser shavings off of my paper, but I'm being really gentle so that it doesn't smear all the graphite everywhere. I will go in with the knead eraser and go around the edges before all is said and done. Now I just showed you, this is a clear wax crayon, and I'm putting that in where the highlights are so that I can kind of keep those before I start the watercolor. That being said, I would not have done that yet. It just got a little bit smeary, so I wasn't real happy with it. Off camera, I actually went in with my 8B and darkened a lot of the shadows and made a little bit more definition, and I filled in the leaves and the stem. I'm kind of going to show you right now what I did just so you can kind of see it. In hindsight, I think I said this earlier, I would not have made such deep shadows because of the way I ended up painting with the watercolor. It kind of repelled the watercolor where the really dark shading was. So the reason I put the shading on the leaves like I did was because I had the sun kind of coming from the top. So the top of the actual leaves would be a little bit lighter, and then the underside would be more in shadow. So those are definitely a lot darker. One of the reasons I love working in my sketchbook is because I feel like I have more freedom to try new things. Maybe it works out and maybe it doesn't. I struggled with a few things in this whole concept, but I absolutely had so much fun with it. I love the end product, and I think that if we don't take the time to, try new things, then we just kind of get stuck in a rut. So I was excited to just kind of try something different. Now I'm going to go in with that mono eraser and kind of where the really light areas are around the edges of the seeds, I'm gonna go in and erase that a little bit, simply because when I put the watercolor in later, it will give it kind of a glow, I guess, or it'll look a lot lighter. I wanted to deepen that shadow, so I went ahead and kind of dirtied up my blending stuff again. That's what you were seeing me do there. After putting that shadow in a little bit more, this is basically the end of the drawing portion. So you can stop right now. You don't even have to use watercolors if you don't want to. So in the next portion, we are going to just jump right in, and I hope that you will join me in painting in the next video. All right, are you ready to add a little panache and some pizzazz with some watercolor? I've already swatched some. I will go over those in just a minute. I am using my Paul Rubens watercolor set for this painting. I'm going to show you a couple of brushes. They're brushes that I don't use that often, and they're darker in color, so I was kind of worried about the graphite transferring to the brush. Ultimately, I end up using several different brushes due to the size of the area I want to paint, and then I also used one for one color and one for another color. So I'm not really going to focus all that much on the brushes that I'm showing you right now because I end up bringing in so many other ones anyway. The colors I'll be using are violet, permanent violet, ultramarine, Prussian blue, and Payne's gray. And I mix those together in lots of different ways in order to achieve different variations of purples and blues and dark colors for shadows. I actually end up bringing in some black as well. So I'm just showing the wax crayon again that we had used in the drawing. But in a second, I'm going to show you a product called masking fluid. Some people refer to it as Frisket. It's a liquid that you can apply with a brush, or this version actually has just a little squeeze bottle. You just put it over the area that you want to leave the integrity of the color of the paper, or maybe a color that's underneath it. You wait for it to dry, and then you can just paint right over it, and then when you're done, you can rub it off, and then it shows whatever color you have underneath it. Let me know in the comments if you'd like to see a video where I use masking fluid. Now, if you've been to my channel before, you know I like to use the no plan plan. So I didn't practice this beforehand, but I chose colors that I really thought would work for a Blackberry. Now, I didn't exactly color match, but I'm showing you that lighting changes everything. So one was taken outside, one was taken inside under a light. So you can color match one or the other. I just chose colors that I thought would look nice, using different concentrations of each of the colors when I mix them together. As I'm painting, I add sometimes blue to the page, or purple to the page, or the violet to the page. I just want to create dimension and interest. For the lightest part of all the different seeds, I do use violet, and then I just start using different concentrations and variations of the colors and the mixes that I've created. One thing I'll say is that throughout the entire painting, I probably would have used a little bit more of a wash, so a little bit less concentrated, in order to kind of keep the integrity of the graphite drawing. I ended up kind of just treating it like a regular watercolor instead of kind of trying to treat it like a graphite drawing with a wash of watercolor. Again, I'm a really illustrative and free painter, so I still absolutely love the way that my painting turned out, but I might have overcomplicated it a little bit. Now you can see that I'm going in with just the violet to start with, and then I'm going to bring in a little bit of a darker color. The darkest part will be where the seeds are touching, because that part would be in shadow. So, and then as I blend them together, I will go from light to dark. And then I'm continuing to look at my reference photo to see where the darkest darks are, so that I can continue building those shadows, but also keeping the light areas light. I'm gonna set this to music for a while. You can just watch my process. If you have any questions, please just ask in the comments. I always check the comments. And remember, you can slow the video down in the settings if you want to. If you enjoy my content and this painting, please like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the notification bell. It really does help my channel, and it's a great and free way to support me on my art journey.
I'm always searching for answers. I'll never find a designated moment. Every choice I make, caught in a cycle, can't catch a break.
I want to mention, when I go to blend colors together, I will rinse my brush off and dab off some of the water so that it's not super wet. But I want my brush to be clean so that I can gently blend the colors together. I'm working on mixed media paper, so it's harder to use a lot of layers on mixed media paper. That's why I tend to use watercolor paper. But again, I was just experimenting and having fun with this painting. So there were a few areas that might have been a little bit of a struggle between the paper and the graphite. But as I've already said, I really love how the painting turns out.
I'm always searching for answers. I'll never find a designated moment. Every choice I make, caught in a cycle, can't catch a break. switch in my brain so I can finally breathe. Thoughts spin around like shadows they cast. I'm an overthinker, lost in my mind. I'm always searching for answers I'll never find at that every moment. Every choice I make, caught in a cycle, can't catch a break. Ooh, maybe one day and I'll pay attention to myself. I'd rather pay attention to you. I'm an overthinker, lost in my mind. I'm always searching for answers I'll never find at that every moment. Every choice I make, caught in a cycle, can't catch a break. In the quiet of the night, my head's going so loud. It sounds just like a party. Thoughts spin around like shadows they cast. I'm an overthinker, lost in my mind. I'm always searching for answers I'll never find at that every moment. Every choice I make, caught in a cycle, can't catch a break.
The greens I'm using for the stem and the leaves are yellow green, true green, and hooker's green. So the yellow green is the green I'm using for the highlight or the lightest part of the leaves, and then I use the darker colors according to the shadows I've created with the graphite. And then I'm going to go back into the Blackberry and give a little bit more definition to the seeds, and in between the seeds I'm going to be bringing in black, and I add that in with purples and Payne's gray and blue.
I'm an overthinker, lost in my mind. I'm always searching for answers I'll never find at that every moment. Every choice I make, caught in a cycle, can't catch a break. Ooh, maybe one day and I'll pay attention to myself. I'd rather pay attention to you. I'm an overthinker, lost in my mind. I'm always searching for answers I'll never find at that every moment. Every choice I make, caught in a cycle, can't catch a break. just turn off, like a switch in my brain, so I can finally breathe. Thoughts spin around like shadows they cast. I'm an overthinker, lost in my mind. I'm always searching for answers I'll never find.
I decided to use Bombay India ink in yellow. India inks are super vibrant, and I really thought that it would help the Blackberry pop off the page, and I really think it achieved that. I just love the vibrancy of the inks. Working with inks are really fun.
Ooh, maybe one day and I'll pay attention to myself. I'd rather pay attention to you. I'm an overthinker, lost in my mind. I'm always searching for answers I'll never find.
Now I'm going to completely dry the painting, and then I'm going to bring in Posca pens. I have 3 different sizes that have 3 different nibs, so large to smaller, and I just picked whichever one I wanted depending on the area that I wanted to highlight. I used the smallest one for just the little pinhead highlights that are in the picture. You can also use bleed proof white, which is another good one, but I just thought it'd be fun to use the Posca pens. I really like how vibrant they are and how it turned out. If your Posca nibs get kind of dirty, all you have to do is just rub them on a clean piece of paper.
In the quiet of the night, my head's going so loud. It sounds just like a party. Thoughts spin around like shadows they cast. I'm an overthinker, lost in my mind. I'm always searching for answers I'll never find. There's a every moment, every choice I make, caught in a cycle, can't catch a break. Wish that I could just turn off, like a switch in my brain, so I can finally breathe. Thoughts spin around like shadows they cast. I'm an overthinker.
Here's the finished painting. I hope you had as much fun as I did. Thank you so much for watching and for celebrating Lughnasadh with me. Comment below if you have any of your own traditions for Lughnasadh or Lammas. I look forward to seeing your creations. Just tag me on Instagram. All of my information is in the description box. I post videos every Wednesday, and next week I hope you'll join me where I will be experimenting with acrylic markers. I'm looking forward to that. Thank you again so much for watching and for supporting me on my art journey. Be kind to yourselves and be kind to each other. I will see you next week.